Peasant Productions presents the math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. Okay, now, I pointed out that, you have all this pollution problem. You have this virus, bacteria, algae, molds, all the microcosm of life that you don't see, so you don't have any way to guarantee you're going to control it. So you know that you're in trouble, you know you have a problem. I've told you how to build shuttlecraft very quickly because they are lifeboats. They are not works of art, or even like the modern shuttlecraft of NASA, where a single shuttlecraft did 10, 15, 20, 50 flights. Okay, these you need them to at least produce live specimens in space where you can do something else with. Now, in the last video was pointing out how very quickly, see what you can do with a taxi? You can be taking all this stuff around and delivering it. Yeah, I know. Excuse me, I'm going to get really crazy here in a minute with this, to show you how much fun it can be. Anyway, I showed you how very quickly you take this series of I-beams and a power plant and my nuclear hot plate. I call it a hot plate rocket for lack of anything better. I mean, it atomizes anything you put on it because you're running the thing at like 5,000 degrees. I mean, you throw this piece of paper at it, this is going to burst into flames. It's going to create reactionary mass. The reactionary mass is going to go the only way it can, which is out the rocket. Okay? I mean, what are you guys using now? You're using massive chemicals that burn, that explode, that expand. Okay, fine. If you could turn around and take dirt and throw it on something and it would blow out at the same volume of pressure, what's the problem? Why do you need to sit on a keg of TNT? So, this system works. It is 100% feasible. It's 100% doable. Everything. And like I said, this nuclear power plant exists from the 1970s liquid sodium satellite nuclear power plants. You have little power plants inside battleships, little power plants inside submarines. Who knows what else the military is building little tiny nuclear power plants inside of. Like, they probably got a few of their little hidey hole caves and stuff like that with their own little nuclear generators. The knowledge exists. You're not Elon Musk going to say, oh, in 50 years I'm going to develop. No, I'm saying right now this all exists. Absolutely everything here is designs I conceived of in the 1970s and 1980s. 30 to 40 years ago, folks, this stuff was totally feasible, but at that point in time the United States began the extreme materialism thing, and that all wiped out. Now, you got these shuttles, you get them up there, like I said, you got work ships, you got taxis. The one thing you do have to do here that I need to point out so that everybody understands that, yes, there are a few things that go beyond just strapping it on. You need to have control for all of these jet engines, blast engines, okay, reactionary mass engines, that you can drive while you're sitting inside the cockpit of the shuttles. So, again, you're out in space, there's no friction to worry about. I mean, even if somebody passes through a cloud of hot gas, it's not going to immediately start melting, plastic and stuff like that. You need to run at least one, probably, 2-inch diameter cable from whatever computer system is on here. Drill a single hole, big enough so that the socket and the cable goes in, put it inside. It's very simple. You simply depressurize the ship for an hour or so. You're drilling a hole, making the connection, passing a cable through to the new guidance systems, hooking up that computer system in there and what needs to be there. The cable just runs around the outside. You can actually have two of them, because the way I see it, you probably want two joysticks, one for each side. Okay, up, down, left, right, on whatever this is, and whatever on this side is equal on this side. So you have complete mobility. You have of course, these rocket engines that push you anywhere. The original shuttle had small reactionary chemical mass-driven engines around it. Those may or may not be involved in the mass production systems. They may or may not be available, but this gives you all of the necessary controls, and you definitely had the massive engines back here to get you up into orbit, so it provides lift thrust, okay? Now, anonymous people and Linux users, okay, we want Linux up there in space. We do not need Microsoft, and we do not need Apple. Both of those are monopoly people. They do not care about the fact that you are working hard. They do not care about the fact that if you're in one of these starships or lifeboats or whatever, you need to be able to control what's going on. You need to do stuff, and if you're out there somewhere past the moon, you obviously don't want to have to wire back to Microsoft for its permission for you to do something to let it happen. So we need Linux, pure and simple. Linux people start thinking about this and see what you can do. I believe you can probably raid all of your gamer stuff, because obviously your little controls and its flight controls, which you guys have on all of your games and stuff. Anyway, now the first generation of my rats, okay, retrieval asteroid tug ships, are these things. First generation, you've got something there that can go out, hook itself up with a cable, and remember, you have this huge bay that'll take like a whole entire, Greyhound or school bus in it, in one piece. So you have nothing stopping you from bringing up the cables off of old, that would have been used on fishing trawlers and mining equipment on Earth. You can grab these big cables, haul them up. You can be up there, and you can go out, and I guarantee one of these things here can change the orbit and tow a 1 kilometer asteroid anywhere it wants to, whether it's to the moon or a satellite or to Mars or anything else, okay? So we immediately have surface defense from the increasing amount of asteroids coming down on you. We have mineral collection, because as soon as these are up, as soon as these modifications are put onto these things, they are immediately now part of the service fleet to help build the starships, the space stations, the various things like this. This is all part of what's going on. So, like I said, you do have to worry about depressurizing everything and drilling holes into the cockpit. But you're depressurized. You simply sit there and you put in the epoxy glue after the the cable is passed through. You have however long is needed to be a safe hardening, okay, which means maybe 8 or 10 hours of that sitting there for the chemical reactions or whatever you're using, okay, how it works. And then you just simply repressurize it. If it blows out, you're going to know right then. If it doesn't blow out immediately, chances are you're going to have a ship that you can use for, who knows, years maybe. Okay? Because there's not going to be a whole lot else going on unless somebody's out there yanking and pulling on those cables. There's no wind to vibrate it. Okay? There's not going to be anything. There will be vibrations of the ship, yes. When you go over and in the moon base and you drop down on it, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's going to be some shaking and toying. But remember, these are structural parts to take all of the surface loading of wings to come into atmosphere, which you don't have out there. So all of the loading of this stuff is going to be equally transferred around the entire ship. You're not going to break your wings off and leave the body in the middle, because it can't happen. There's nothing pushing in the middle here. There's no friction. There's no air resistance. Nothing like that. So it does not exist, okay? You simply have a 100% mobile, 360-degree rotational, directional engines, and it is all fed by literally, like I said, you can put dirt into this stuff, spray dirt onto 5,000-degree hot plate, it's gonna do something, folks. Most metals melt at, in the 1,000 to maybe 3,000 degree range. Yeah. So that's why I say you go look at what you're able to do. You put this stuff together, you make this stuff work, you get it up and into space, you're immediately doing something to save the planet, you're immediately doing something to save yourself. You are not throwing stuff out. Remember, once this shuttle from NASA got up to the International Space Station, all it had were these little tiny maneuverable jets. It had no more fuel to do anything else other than use that to push itself back down and literally fall in the gravity well back down to Earth. It never uses these engines in space. My system does. My rats will use this stuff. Like I said, first generation. We've had what? 10, 15 asteroids of major size. The 100 to 300 pound rocks hit the atmosphere in the past couple of weeks. So there's no problem going out and finding chunks of rock to drag to where you need to turn it into material. You might have to learn how to use your radar to differentiate between a dirt asteroid and a solid iron asteroid. But other than that, that's typical. Okay. The people that'll be first doing this are the same thing as your explorers, your trappers, your hunters, your guides into foreign countries and foreign neighborhoods and stuff like that. Okay, these people still exist. I'm one of them. If I'm one human that has the desire to go out and see what else is in the world, and I communicate with thousands of people around the planet that also do this, that also don't have a problem with living alone or living in a small space and dealing with stuff. Your government is wrong telling you that nobody can live out there in space. It's not possible because you have to be here where we can control everything. Yeah. So think about that. Think about the fact that you have this. You have the Linux idea that we need to work on and get going. Oh, and yeah, real fast, I'll try to fit this in. The internet system. Again, Linux will allow us to put massive amounts of data up there. A Linux laptop with some kind of satellite-capable relay system is going to be a lot smaller, lighter, better, less expensive. I don't want to say cheaper. I want to say less expensive than any Apple or Microsoft necessary type stuff. Sorry, in Spanish too much. Necesita. Anything necesita para Apple and IBM Windows. Extremely bloated systems because they want to have enough room to hide all kinds of garbage in there, and they also have to facilitate you buying more and more expensive equipment. We want light, we want available, we want inexpensive because people are dying. Okay.